Mort Group, your host on Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. Have you ever seen people do that? We sometimes see William Buckley, and he talks like the situation that I have, and he talks that hesitant way. We don't consider William Buckley a stutterer. I don't, and the people I know don't. But there are those who stutter, and they believe William Buckley stutters. Does William Buckley stutter the way we see him? I don't believe so. When I hesitate, when I prolong, the stutterer believes that is stuttering. We're going to talk about the game of stuttering. I see it as a game. And I see the rules as being developed by individuals who stutter that really have a far-fetched concept, in my opinion, of what the real rules are. Why do people stutter? Why do they go like that? Is it neurological? Is it related to genes? Is it related to heredity? I have my doubts about it. I'd like you to join with me. Stuttering develops basically between the ages of 3 and 7. And there are those who believe that stuttering is neurological. Something is amiss with the individual who stutters. It's a handicap of some kind. I don't buy that. I believe that stuttering is developed by the way we use our speech and the way people respond to us. Let me try to explain that. There are more males, maybe 4 or 5 times as many males, kids, who stutter than females. And that's true in the general population as well. Why? Is it because males are heir to stuttering more than females? Possibly, but males aren't as refined in speech as females, and their motor coordination is a little off, I find. I've worked with individuals who stutter over the years, having been the director of the Adult Stutterers Group at Stanford in 1957, and we had a large group of individuals there who were severe stutterers. They couldn't get the word out. We ran twice a week, 3 hours at a time, for a year. And at the end of 1 year, the improvement was so vast, it was basically unbelievable. Why? If stuttering is neurological, how is it possible for individuals who have the problem to overcome that problem? And did they actually overcome the problem? Yes, they wrote letters and they gave, yes, they did overcome it, and they talked about it. We taped them, we explained what stuttering was about, or could be about. And what it was about is that they stopped using the squeezed oral musculature and the tension in the lower throat and the pressure on the breathing mechanism. Stutterers do strange things, and they do it because they don't know what is right and what is wrong, in my opinion. Stuttering develops basically between the ages of 3 and 7. There are a lot of disfluencies. I call them bobbles. I have a book called Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. I'm the author of it. And Winning with Your Voice. This is the book, Winning with Your Voice. And it talks about, in part, stuttering and how we create the stuttering in and by ourselves. How do we do it? We believe that bobbles, or the hesitation or prolongation that we have in our speech as we grow up. There are 45 bobbles or hesitations, we call them in our field disfluencies, that occur in children per 1,000 words. And they do that. When they do that, we all too often think that that is stuttering. It isn't really stuttering. It's very normal speech. Kids just don't know what words to say or the sounds. So they bobble. Bobbling is very normal at a certain stage, especially between the ages of 3 and 7, when speech is being developed. Didn't you bobble? I guess I bobbled, but nobody told me about it. And if they did, I didn't pay much mind to it. There are those who bobble, and they are told that they shouldn't do that. There are those people who are more sensitive than others, maybe myself, who react and respond to the bobbles within themselves. They may have an articulation problem, and they respond. Why do some kids respond more than others? Nobody knows. Some are very tender to criticism, others are not. But this we do know, that bobbles are normal. I would say that nearly all of us would accept that in the field of speech pathology. And though we may not know why one child or one individual begins to stutter and another doesn't, though they come from the same environment and may be criticized for the way they speak, beyond it all, you have to react to your speech pattern to become a stutterer. Why? Stuttering requires that you try to preform your tongue. What do I mean, preform? You take the tongue and put it in the mouth, and you know you're going to say a certain sound, an S or a TH, and before the sound occurs, you put your tongue there 5 or 10 seconds or a second or 2 or 3 before you say the sound. That's called preforming. It's impossible to talk if you preform. But the individual who stutters isn't aware of that. So the individual preforms the tongue, fearing the sound may not come out right. Why he or she fears that? Somebody may have criticized the articulation or the style or the hesitation or prolongation. And the child may go to a rate beyond what he or she can really contain or control. So we, in a sense, outwardly, those about the child, determine and direct the child to a rate or a pattern, or criticize the rate or the pattern or the style, so that the child reacts, becomes psychologically and emotionally uptight about a speech pattern that essentially is normal. But not too many people know that bobbling, hesitation and prolongation and repetition is normal. So the child reacts to the adult concern, or reacts within the child himself, not knowing the bobble or the bobbles are normal. What happens then? Pre-formation. Instead of me saying my name is Mort Cooper, I say my name, and you can see the tightening of the lips. When you tighten the lips, the whole mechanism goes tight, the body goes tight, the breathing stops or is reversed. Stutterers talk all too often holding their breath, and it's not very easy to talk without air. It's like riding a car with the wheels not having air. It's not very easy doing that, and if you do it, you're doing the impossible. Stutterers try to do the impossible. They try to talk without air. They try to talk with the tongue up against the roof of their mouth or their lips held tightly, and they try to force the sound out. It's not very easy to do. Stutterers, as they grow up, want perfect speech. There is no such thing as perfect speech. Let me tell you about it. If you have the concept that you can be perfect in speech, you're impossible. There are no perfect speakers anywhere in the world. Take it from me. If you are a perfect speaker, you have no bobbles, no hesitations, no prolongations, no repetitions, no hesitations. You belong in all of those handbooks, the Guinness Handbook, believe it or not, Ripley. It's impossible. We all have hesitations, prolongations, repetitions, and all of that. I call it the bobbling of America. My field calls it disfluencies. They have a big word. I have a little word. I think the little word gets across. When we are in front of people and we're on stage, we babble more. Sometimes we babble more despite the fact that we're not on stage. It may be we don't know what we're talking about and we lack confidence, or we may just talk on and not babble very much because we don't care what people think. But stutterers do care. They care very much what you and I think. They're always wondering, what is it that you think of their speech? When you talk, you really, rarely think of how to form your words. You may think of a sound now and then that's a little difficult for you, like in aluminum or statistics. But stutterers think all the time about sounds. Sounds, sounds, and sounds in words and how words will come out. They live and breathe with sounds from morning to night, wondering who is going to notice that they babble. They think in terms of perfection. They play a game of stuttering. The game is played by the wrong rules, I believe. If you change the rules and allow the individual who is repeating to do that easily, without effort, you're becoming like one of us. You are normal. We do that all the time. William Buckley does it all the time. I think the situation that we have, and he does that with his tongue, and it's very effective. He doesn't rush. He's an easy speaker. You may not appreciate William Buckley. I do. I like the easy style. He makes his point his way. It may not be your way. It may not be my way. But he gets the word out, and he's not afraid to babble. Stutterers are terrified by the concept of babbling, and they force the babble like that. If you watch my lips, you will see the difference between easy repetition and and you see the tension. I can duplicate the babble, and I can duplicate stuttering. Stuttering is not babbling, and babbling is not stuttering, and the two shall never meet. The twain shall never meet, but the stutterer doesn't know that. Those at Stanford I worked with in 1957, when I was a director for the Adult Stutterers Group, learned the difference between babbling and stuttering, and they stopped reacting to babbling. They became normal. We all babble, every last one of us. Andy Rooney babbles, Mike Wallace babbles, Ted Koppel babbles, people everywhere on radio and television, and in real life. I call it real life, other than radio and television, because we too often feel they're perfect. They're not perfect. They rehearse a great deal. And because they rehearse a great deal, and they're professionals, they sound better than most of us. But they babble. And if they babble too much, they take out the babbles. Did you know that? They take the babbles out because they have pre-recordings, or if the babbles are there, they gloss over it. And many of us don't hear the babbles. We hear the babbles in people on interview shows, and they babble all the time. I like to hear babbles. Stutterers don't. You hear them, and you just accept them. Babbling is the American way. When you wake up in the morning, you may be a little weary, and you haven't got that flow. Stutterers run scared. They want the flow. They want to be perfect. There are no perfect speakers, but thinking there are makes it impossible for you to be at ease. If you're not at ease, you really can't speak normally, because tension makes it very difficult for you to talk. If you're too tense, you see what happens when somebody talks on stage in public speaking. They become somebody other than themselves. Just a few moments before you were talking with them, they were very normal people, and they had very easy speech. And then suddenly on stage they changed. They became other than the person you know. What happened to them? It's called stage fright. Have you ever seen what happens to people who have stage fright? They can't remember what they say. They don't want to remember what they say. They didn't mean what they say or said. What happens to stutterers? They have perennial stage fright. It is my view they're always wondering what people are thinking of their speech. We don't think about that. We think about other things than what people think of our speech. We may have funny voices. We may talk like it. We may sound like Henry Kissinger. I feel that the situation that we have. We may have Sandy Duncan voices. Do you like wheat thins? But we don't think of our speech per se, and we don't even think of our voices. We just accept it as such. But there are those, like stutterers, who wonder and worry about everything they do when they talk, from the time they get up to the time they go to bed, and even in their dreams, they wonder about their speech. Now, that's not very easy on the body, and it creates an awful lot of tension. I wonder how people make it through the day, worrying about their speech from morning to night and night to morning. It's not very easy on the psyche, and on the soul, and on relationships, and the feelings, and all of that. We do an awful lot of speaking in society, and if you're not comfortable when you speak, where are you? You're in deep doo-doo, if I may say that. The problem is that we don't know that speech can be very easy and friendly and warm if we're stuttering, because we have a misconception. We believe, as I said, if you're a stutterer, and I've worked with a number of stutterers over the years, that speech has got to be perfect. There are no perfect speakers. And if you believe that you have to be perfect, that means you're tense all the time. And if you're tense all the time, you really can't be at ease. You're under stage fright, perennial stage fright. What that does to the psyche is really impossible to think about. People lead their lives according to sounds, where their tongue should be, what people they'll meet, will it be somebody they can't talk with. They have a whole agenda. The agenda is don't talk on the telephone with this person, don't meet that person, don't go here, and don't order in a restaurant there. They have a lot of priorities. If you ask a stutterer why they avoid you, or avoid people, or avoid situations, they may give you many excuses. But the real answer, if you get to know stutterers, is they don't feel comfortable talking under certain circumstances with certain people at certain times, at certain places. And you know something that's very interesting about stutterers? That changes from day to day and week to week, month to month, and year to year. They never know who's going to be difficult. Although they think it's easy at certain points, it changes. It's the tension inside, I believe. It's the feeling state. It's the emotional, psychological aspect that comes to the fore and makes them a little uptight, although previously they felt relaxed. They're afraid to be what you and I are, just unaware of what we're saying most of the time. Most of us babble. We babble at home, we babble with our kids, we babble on the phone, we dawdle, we have a good time. And we forget that speech, for stutterers, isn't all that easy. Where does it begin? I believe it begins early in life when the individual makes speech trying. Now, there are those who say that stuttering is neurological, and there's a whole backlog of information saying it's neurological, it's in your genes, it's this and that. But it seems strange to me, if it's so, how is it possible for me and others who have worked with stutterers to help stutterers stop stuttering? What is it that I do and others who help stutterers overcome stuttering do that stops them from stuttering? What I do is very simple. So simple, it's mind-boggling, or it's speech-boggling. I get the individual to bobble the same way I do. I bobble throughout the day. I bobble at the Y when I play basketball. I bobble on the phone. I repeat and I hesitate, and I do that a lot. I don't think about it, but I do it. And I know I do it. But I don't mind doing it because bobbling is the all-American thing to do. But may I say something to you, if I can? We've known each other a little while. Stutterers don't know bobbling is normal. And bobbling is normal. I know William Buckley is normal. I listen to him all the time. And I like his style, though not everybody does. He makes his point easily, like he has lots of time to say what he has to say. Most of us rush. I rush throughout the day at times. Coming from New York, I learned to eat fast and think fast and run fast. 2 fast feet. So when I see William Buckley, I like William Buckley. It's people like Buckley that make me feel at ease. Stutterers tense me a little. A little. I understand what they're doing. And when they understand what I'm doing, so they can bobble the same way I'm bobbling, or others bobble, or repeat, or hesitate, then their life changes. What do I do to make them change? I get them to listen to radio interviews, Larry King, Ted Koppel. I get them to listen to normal people, people like you, and maybe me. I think I'm normal. And hear the bobbles in our speech. And I get them to tune into society, so they go out in restaurants and they listen to people in bookstores. I take them with me. I have them listen to radio in the office. I have them listen to others in my office until they can hear the bobbling of America. And then I do something that might drive you crazy. I have stutterers bobble on a tape machine and hear the bobbling and get comfortable with it so they sound just like you or me. And when they can bobble and they change their image from perfection to bobbling, they can become one of us. After a while, of course, it takes a little time for them to become normal and to use hesitation and repetition and prolongation. Like I say, Morty Cooper, and I can say that. I don't have to be perfect. We always want to be perfect in our society, especially stutterers. But there is no such thing as perfection. Believe me, all you have to do is open your ears and realize perfection is beyond us. We may try, but we will never be perfect in speech. It wasn't meant that way. I know, and you know. All you have to do is listen. If you stutter and you think it's neurological, ask yourself this basic question. If you don't stutter and you wonder about stutterers, ask yourself this basic question. How can you stop stuttering when people do stop stuttering? And a lot of people do. Could they have been neurological in the first place? Why is it that stutterers, when they're by themselves, essentially can talk? Why is it they can sing? Why is Mel Tellis able to sing, but he can't talk? It's my understanding and my feeling. When he sings, he knows what he's doing and he has a lot of relaxation. But when he talks, he thinks of getting the tongue in that pre-formation area, and he wants to be perfect. There is no perfection. And when he sings, he can sing and cut the record and cut back. But in speaking, he wants to be perfect, and he may well hold his breathing. I talk about that. People do strange things. When they sing, they do one thing, and when they talk, they do another. Why don't they do the same thing? That's a bobble. We all bobble. You and I bobble. Stutterers don't know it. And stutterers, incidentally, when they talk with a child or a dog, they basically don't stutter. Did you know that? Yet they could be stuttering all the time. Well, if it's neurological, why is it they don't stutter when they're with a child or a dog or a cat or a baby or by themselves or when they sing? The answer may be they're not afraid. and it's a different role. And role-playing is psychological in nature. We run scared. We believe that we have to be perfect in our speech pattern. That's our role. That's if you stutter. If you're normal and somebody points out that you go like that, do you know the normal person tries to avoid those who point out the bobbling in the normal person's speech? You could make them feel very uncomfortable. But it's there. It's everywhere. Our society is filled with the bobbling of America. Did you know that? Stuttering to me is a game. The rules are laid down by the stutterer, and the rules are wrong. The individual plays by rules that are impossible to win the game. And if you change the rules for the stutterer, change the rules, let the stutterer bobble and feel free and hesitate and prolongate, you lose the tension in the tongue, in the jaw, in the neck, in the body, and you change your image of what is right and what is wrong and what is normal and what is abnormal. If you think you have to force a door down to open it, you know that's the wrong concept. Change the key. And if you think you have to force your voice and your speech out, think again. It's your image. You've got the wrong concept. Could it be that stuttering is a very simple game played by those who don't know that speech is very easy and is not effortful? The concept of speech, normal speech, resides with nearly all of us, save the seriously impaired neurological cases. And stuttering, as I say, is considered by many to be neurological. If it were, then we'd all be stuttering, basically, because we bobble. I don't believe so. I'd like to thank you for joining with me. I'm the author of this book, Winning with Your Voice, talking